So welcome everyone. My name's Nancy Moore. I'm the Director of Programs with Africa Fire Mission, and we're grateful to have all of you here today to join us for weekly training. AFM has been offering weekly training now for over a year, and we appreciate everyone that participates. We do record these sessions so that they can be watched later if you have a difficult connection or anything like that. At this time, we are still not providing certificates of attendance. However, we are working on a plan for that for next year. So please continue to stay engaged. We are working on some plans for that in the future. I want to encourage you to introduce yourselves in the chat. I know some of you are here many weeks, but it's just good to stay connected and make sure we know who's here and where you're from as well. So I'm going to pass it to Jose for a few words of encouragement, and then Dave Moore, our Executive Director, will take the training for today.
Thank you, Nancy. Truly appreciate. Welcome everyone all over Africa, from Zambia and also within Kenya. So today I'm staying to encourage you that as a word of encouragement, in the sense, you remember, like when we go to the firehouse, we usually carry things in our pocket, you know, and when those things that we carry in our pocket are there to save us, you know, but then whatever you put in your pocket, you have to know the tool, what the tool is, and also what it is there for. So it is the same thing in your life. Whatever tool that you introduce in your life, be it a certain skill, you need to know which compartment you need to put it in. For example, if you're practicing on ropes, you need to know different types of knots. So that way in the fire scene or in the fire ground, you can actually get to actualize the different types of ropes. Yeah. So I would encourage us, even when you're in the firehouse, whatever you choose to put in your pocket, you get to practice over and over again so that it can be second to none as you move ahead. Yeah. So without further ado, I would invite now our Executive Director, Mr. Dave Moore, to take us through the class today. Karibu sana, Mr. Dave Moore.
Asante sana. Good afternoon, everyone. It is good to be here with you today. As Nancy and Jose said, I am Dave Moore. I'm the founder and the Executive Director of Africa Fire Mission. And it is really good to be here with you. I don't often have the opportunity to be a part of this meeting, and I'm honored to be here with you today, and I'm honored that all of you are taking time out of your day to be here, and I'm just so encouraged that you all are here and are continuing to learn. We know that learning is a constant process, and for firefighters that I've worked with throughout my career and all around the world, it's so inspiring to see folks like you coming and getting all the training opportunities possible, taking advantage of them, and making yourselves better firefighters, and knowing that you are taking this knowledge and sharing it with others who aren't able to be here is also so very important. So please, with what you learned today, share it, and share this opportunity for training with other folks, other firefighters that you know in your homes, towns, in your counties, wherever you may be. Share these opportunities, because we love to be together with you to learn alongside of you, and as much as you may learn from our instructors, we also are learning from you. So again, thanks for being here. And today, for our training, what we're going to do is go through an exercise where we're going to be looking at a fire situation that happened recently in the Mathare Valley. And Jose is going to give us about a 10-minute summary of what happened there and how the fire began, the fire department's response, and what they did to put off fire. And so I want you to listen to that story. But what I want you to listen to that story for specifically is things that went very well, things that could be done better in the future, and things that you would do differently where you are now. And after Jose gives us the story, I'm going to guide us through some discussion about those pieces so that we can learn from this recent actual situation that has happened and look at the ways that you can improve things almost immediately if that same fire situation were to happen where you are. So again, we're going to talk about things that you heard that went well, things that could be done better, could be improved upon, and things that you would just do differently based on the folks that you have available, the equipment you have available, and the knowledge that you have. So with that, I will turn this back over to Jose to give us a synopsis of the fire situation.
Thanks, Dave. I truly appreciate for this opportunity. So I serve in the Mathare community, and my main duty is to go to do fire sensitization. And I partner with the Nairobi Fire Brigade to actually get to assist them to put out fires whenever I can get to join them. So that said, I received a phone call at about 2:30. I believe it was about, I can't remember the day actually. Was it 3 days ago? Thereabout, I think it was last week. So, and people were calling and asking me to call the fire brigade. You know, hey, Jose, could you please call the fire brigade? There's fire at area 1. So for me, the first thing I usually do, I get the exact stuff. I mean, the exact location information before I call the fire brigade. So when I called the fire brigade, they immediately picked up my call and I told them exactly where the fire was. Fortunately, they told me that they had, somebody else had already called them, and they were holding for some assistance, I mean, for some support of the police so that they go to the fire scene. Anytime that happens, there's usually a 411 that the fire had already raged for some several minutes or so. So because of their security, they needed a police clearance so that if any eventuality, they can be safe. So they quickly rushed to area 1. And in that particular area, just before they went, they went there, and the challenge was actually accessibility. Yes, up to the fire scene, it was very accessible. The road is tarmacked and everything, but then now going inside the houses is more like a maze, you know? So, and you can imagine it's a very big area at one time, it's burning at the same time. So that really took quite some energy on the firefighters. It took quite some time. From about 3 a.m., the fire was continuing up to about 6 a.m., you know, and then it was controlled up to about 6 a.m. So I went on the ground at about 8 a.m. to find out exactly what happened. I saw really a very big chunk of houses were really burnt down. And it was about 800 units that were flattened out. So number two, I went and asked the neighbors what they thought caused the fire. The story, which I've not confirmed with the OB at Nairobi County, is that people are saying that the communities there were fighting. You know, they were fighting, and somehow one of the people that they were fighting tripled over a kerosene stove, and the kerosene stove started the fire. Now, the bad thing is that they did not yell fire, fire, fire. They just kept silent, and the fire really raged so many houses. Unfortunately, those houses are just near a river. So I guess the wind from the cold and the wind from the river really made the fire really spread so fast. Yeah. However, one of the beautiful things that happened is that the backup, Nairobi Fire Brigade called a lot of backup. They came with many fire engines that really helped them to kill the fire. I mean, each fire engine was actually doing its job, you know, and another fire engine was actually going and coming back with water. So basically, that's what transpired. That's the scenario that went through. Yeah, so I don't know if that helps. Back to you, Dave.
Okay, thanks, Jose. Just a couple questions for you. And you know about how many fire engines the fire brigade sent to this fire?
No, I do not know how many fire engines, but according to, in such a case, usually they send up to not less than 3 fire engines.
Okay.
2 on the ground, and then 1 usually goes to like a tanker. Though they usually send also an extra tanker to be feeding in the fire. I mean, to be feeding in onto the other fire engines, sorry.
Okay, okay. And you said there were about 800 homes that were burned?
Yes, 800 homes were scorched down, were burnt.
And do you have an estimate of how many people total lived in those homes?
Yes, 800 homes were down, and in each home there are about seven people who stay. That's the average. So we are talking of about 800 times 7 people per house times 7. That's about 5,600 people who got displaced on that day. Yeah.
Okay. So I'd like to start, and I'd ask our participants I'm going to ask you things that you heard from Jose's telling of this fire incident, things that you heard that went well. You can type those thoughts into the chat, or you can speak up here on the video session, so whichever's easiest for you. And so I'd ask you if you'll please just speak those out and talk about the things that you heard the things that you heard that went well. Is it Ole? I see you have your hand up.
Yeah, one of the things I would like to comment is, you see, Jose has said that the fire brigade had to wait for the police clearance. Now, that normally happens a lot of times in the slum areas. And this has happened in Mathare, where that incident happened. And also it normally happens in Kibera. So I would urge our firefighters out there in the field wherever you are called to attend to a fire incident, you've got to get first the police clearance or get your safety becomes more important than even the fire. Thanks.
Okay, thank you. Yes, it's very important to be able to know that you're going to be operating safely before you engage in the firefight, because if you engage too soon and you get hurt by the community members, then there's no one left to put off the fire. All right, and I see Adelina.
Hello, how are you, sir?
I'm good. How are you today?
I'm doing well. It's my first time to meet with you guys.
Well, thanks for coming. Good to meet you.
Yeah. All right. My question is how long was the distance that they were drafting water? Because I heard that they were fighting the fire near the residents built their house near the river. They were drafting water, but I just want to know how long is the distance? What's the distance that they were drafting water? Were they drafting water from the river or from the hydrant somewhere in town?
Mhm.
Okay, and I will let Jose answer that. Do you know, Jose?
Yeah. So the water was not being drafted from the river. The water there was some other, what do you call it, a tanker that was getting water from a distance of about that distance is how much? It's about 5 kilometers or not more than 7 kilometers from town till the fire scene. So the tanker was getting all the way from town to come and fill up the water. There was no close working hydrant within that area. Yeah.
Okay. And Jose, would that be normal for them to go that distance to get water in that area?
Yes. Yes. So that's actually what usually occurs. But the Nairobi Metropolitan Services, NMS, have built now water tanks, 30,000 liter water tanks in each and every Mathare area to avoid that traveling of about 5 to 7 kilometers, So they would just travel up to about 800 meters to go fill up from the 30,000 liter water tank. But they've not been commissioned yet. So they're waiting for commissioning, and then that now will be a one-time thing. When there's fire, instead of going 7 kilometers, they go up to about 800 meters at most.
Well, that sounds like excellent progress overall, Jose. That's really encouraging to hear.
Yeah.
They'll be putting in those water tanks.
Mm-hmm.
Are there other things that you heard that went well?
Adelino, go ahead, sir.
Yes, what went well is the backups system that they had on the other fighters to have. That's most important. If you don't have backup, then the shift that's working on that scene, they will be tireless working. They'll be working tirelessly. So they made a good call to call backup so that they could help the community.
Yes, that's great to hear that they brought a good number of people and equipment and that they had some backup folks, because we know it's exhausting fighting fires. So yes, another good thing. Ole, I see you have your hand up. Something else you'd like to share with us?
Yeah, I just want to ask Jose a question, because you say that they have put up tanks of 30,000 liters in distances of about 800 meters apart. Now, my question is, these tanks, are they dedicated for firefighting only, or they will again be used by the community to fetch water for household use? At the same time, as the metropolitan service put in place policies and checks and controls to make sure that these tanks are not being used by car wash operators so that we miss water to fight fires when we really need it. Thanks.
Thank you, Ole. Yes, these tanks that NMS has built are jointly to be used by the community for they're clean water from Nairobi water. Yes, and then number two, this water, whenever the Nairobi Fire Brigade needs, they have access to actually use it for free. Should I say that? Yeah. So yes, they are accessible to fire engines and also to the community. I don't know about the policy in regards to the car washes using the water, but just looking at it hypothetically, I don't think that they're going to be allowed, because it's just a big tank, it's stationed at one place, and then people come with their 20-liter water jerry cans and they fetch water as they go to their homes. So whenever a fire engine is needed, they will be given access to actually use the water.
Okay, thanks for those questions. I'd like to ask us to switch our mindset a little bit now and share some things that you heard that did not go well. And we'll talk about those and ways to improve on those. Adelino, go ahead.
For me, in other words, what did not go well actually is by water tendering. 5 kilometers is too far. I don't know how many tankers they have, because according to how many tankers they have, then 5 kilometers is still far. But they had water source nearby. If only tankers could draft water from the water, then it was going to be better for them instead of traveling 5 kilometers away. That did not go well, did not plan well, because it takes more time to go and fetch water, and then the fire becomes rage, very high, and the water finishes the firefighters at the nozzle. But I don't know how many tankers did they have that side.
Yes, as you were saying, it's always going to be more effective if we can draft water from closer to the scene than having to drive farther. And one of the questions I would ask based on what you just said, Adelino, is, are your fire brigades in each of your departments, are your apparatus equipped where you can draft water out of a river or a pond? And do your operators know how to do that so that you may be able to draft from a source like that rather than having to drive farther to either a hydrant or some other source of water? We have a question
to Mr. George.
Go ahead, Adelino. We have another question in the chat from the Naivasha Library folks. Thanks for messaging in this. And they are asking, what was the road access to the scene? Jose, can you speak to that a little more?
Yeah, the road to the scene was recently tarmacked. To the scene was well okay. But now inside to put out the fire, now accessing the homes is now quite a challenge, you know. To the scene, it was really easy, but then now to connect now the delivery hoses to put out the fire, that's where now the biggest challenge was.
Great, thank you, Jose. Colleagues, what are some other things that you heard that could have gone better? And I have Cyrus.
Yes, good afternoon, sir.
Good afternoon.
Thank you very much for this opportunity. According to my observation, or what I heard from Jose speaking about, what I saw, it did not went well. It's about those guys who fought each other. After them realizing that there is a fire, they didn't take immediate action to call the fire brigade so that they can get an immediate response. Again, after the eruption of fire, burning 1 or 2 houses, nobody alerted the fire brigade immediately for the response. I think that is another problem. Also, what, according to my observation to that scene, I see the same, they don't have enough panels or corridors for the fire brigade to lay their hoses and suppress the fire in the scene. That's what, according to my observation. Again, I have a challenge to Adelino. According to the training that I went through, I've been told that when you have more than 3 fire engines in the scene and you receive another backup, so you may count, you have 4 or 5 fire engines at the scene, but you will divide them. 3 may work in the scene and the other 3 may go to fetch and fetch water to feed the other engines. So that your engines will not, at the same time, will not be moving one after another to go and feed the water. They start working continuously at the scene and the other one feeding them continuously. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Cyrus. Those were some excellent points that you noticed and some excellent advice. You've learned well. So I see Ole has his hand up again. Go ahead, Ole.
Yeah, thanks, David. At Cyrus, I would like to say that is called bridging when fighting a fire. That is bridging. When you have a fire engine bringing water, then bridging the water to the other firefighter, active firefighting engine. Now, what I wanted to say, I wanted to respond to your question in relation to firefighters getting water and having the knowledge to get water either from ponds or rivers. I am a firefighter service instructor, and that is one of the areas in the curriculum that we where the fire, yes, there was a river, but that river may not have to fight a fire. The water might have been dirty, so it will actually affect the fire. The team could not have gotten the water from that particular river. That's why they had to go 7 kilometers to get water that they could use to fight the fire. Yeah, thanks.
Thank you for that. Yes, and the the skill sets that our fire apparatus operators need to have for drafting water is beyond just the mechanical pieces of pulling the levers. They do need to be able to assess the water source, if it is clean enough or deep enough to use, if using that particular water source might create damage, for the fire apparatus. And in that case, it's better to go farther to get good water than it is to try and get water in a spot that may damage your engine or the pump. So very good point.
Precisely, Dave. Precisely.
And for the fire apparatus operators, for the folks that are driving the fire trucks, whether it's wherever you are or even here in the United States, drafting water is not something that is done all the time. It is a skill that needs to continually be practiced and refreshed, both for the skills of the apparatus operator, but also to make sure that the pumps are in proper operating capacities. There are many things that need to go into place to mechanically to make sure that those pumps can suck the water, can draw the water. And one small thing with a broken seal or gasket could prevent the truck from drawing that water in. And so it's important to constantly be testing and looking over and maintaining our apparatus so that when we do need to draft, not only do we have the skill sets that we need to do that, but that we also know that the equipment's in working order to do that. Now at this point, I don't see other questions right now on this topic. So we're going to go to the third point that I was going to ask you to think about, and I'll ask you to share with us things that in the department where you are working right now or in your fire brigade, things that you might do differently or would like to see be done differently if you had a fire like this where you work. Okay.
The fire safety goes. Can you see me? Hear me?
Yes, we can hear you now.
All right. Okay, in my fire brigade, what we do, the fire safety or fire prevention officer, and then they go to the community and check the community, how do they live, especially the informal settlement, what we have here in South Africa. And then they give them awareness on how to alert the fire department and how to fight the fire before, after alerting the fire department, so that when the fire department comes in, they know where to start and how to prevent that from spreading. So this is what we do in most of the cases. We do that community fire prevention, community safety, fire prevention.
Yeah, very important point. If we can prevent the fires from ever starting, then we're not going to have the problems that fire create. Education of our community members is so important in preventing those fires from ever starting. We know that we will never prevent 100% of the fires. There will still be some, but if people know how to be safe around fire, if they are educated around that, the safer they are, the less likely there are going to have fires. And then another point that you brought up was, calling the fire brigade, and it is a problem all across the world as people do not know the number to call, or they are hesitant to call 911 or call the fire brigade, 911 as we would call it here in the US, for fear of community looking down on them, or it could be the cost of the call, or not wanting to draw out the fire department and then the police with it. But as we're educating our communities, we need to let them know that and get them to understand that the longer they delay in calling the fire brigade, the bigger the fire is going to grow. And the best thing that they can do is call the fire brigade directly. Calling Jose on his phone in the middle of the night, he then has to get that information and call the fire brigade. That creates a delay. And if we make sure that people know the number to call and that the best thing to do is call the fire brigade directly, then we're going to get the firefighters there as fast as we can without any unnecessary delay. Jose, I'm going to ask you to jump in here for a second. So I'll give you a second to get reconnected. But Jose, I'd like to know from your perspective, what you think could be done to improve things if this happened again, and ways that, and also ways that we can make sure the community and the fire brigade have learned from this fire instance to do even better next time. Just give us your thoughts.
My thoughts. So my thoughts that it could be done differently is, first, the community needs to understand and learn that this number that we give them, that they're not going to be given a bill for it. Because that's a perception of the community, that when the fire is put out, I'm going to be slapped with a bill that it's me who called the fire brigade. So they need to understand that this, when they call the fire brigade, no bill will be given to them. Number two, that means, before number two, that means after they have the number, they need to, before they start putting out the fire, please, they need to know that they need to call the fire brigade first, and then now they start putting out the fire. Number two, because in the slum area, the fire brigade does really need backup in terms of security backup. We need a scenario whereby if the police are contacted that, hey, there's a fire in X and Y and Z slum, they need to respond very fast and accompany the firefighters. Yeah, so that we don't have any injuries of firefighters being thrown stones at because of the rage from the community members. And number three, what I think that might need to be different, in my own opinion, these houses could have been prevented. Not all those houses could have been burnt. And this is how, if maybe the community can be trained, having community champions, and then they start breaking, as soon as they start seeing a fire, there's an agreement in that community, they can break a number of houses so that the fire, when it reaches there, it has nothing to rage it, so there'll be a big gap. So in my opinion, I'm thinking there was the resistance of guys not wanting their houses to be broken down, and they chose that everything goes down, so training of the community champions can really be a great deal to actually help. And also having these nyumba kumi, the barazas, the meeting in between the leaders within the community, that they get to agree, this is actually what is going to happen if there is a fire that occurs in our community.
Thanks, Jose. Those are some great points. And talking a little bit about the last point that you brought up about taking down some houses in advance of the fire to prevent the fire from spreading. That's a very hard thing to ask for. And to many people that doesn't make sense. But we as firefighters know that it takes fuel and heat and oxygen to make that fire triangle. And when we take down, in this case, take down buildings and homes, or we are denying the fire fuel, and that is one very effective way to put the fire out. If we have explained to the community in advance the thoughts of, and help get them to understand that the fire, we are tearing these homes down to put the fire out and to save many more. If we get that education up front, if we get people to buy into that, then when that has to happen, they will be more receptive to that option. And also, as we plan for that, and we can plan that, and people can know that, yes, we may be taking the houses down, but we have time to go in and pull out some of the stuff, some of people's belongings before the houses are taken down to create that fire break. And that is a piece of educating and having meetings and getting community understanding about why it's being done, and letting them know that it's being done only in the worst case scenario, and that the solution is either to take these homes down and stop the fire, or the fire continue to burn and completely destroy more and more homes and potentially impact, instead of, in the case of this fire, we talked about 800 homes and 5,600 people, to go to take down 1,800 homes, and 12,000 people are affected. So I have heard today several of you talking about the importance of prevention and of community sensitization in advance of the fire. And that is so important. I am really encouraged to hear all of this, that we are not just standing here talking about how we would spray the water. And although that's important, it's very important. If the prevention piece, the community buy-in, the community sensitization is ultimately what will help advance the fire services where you work and live. As the community understands your job, they are more willing to help you. As they understand how to prevent fires, there will be less fires. The fires that do happen will hopefully be smaller, and you will get there quicker. And we know that the quicker we get there, the smaller the fires are, not only the less impact on our community members, but the safer that each and every one of you will be as you're doing your jobs. So as coming to the end of my formal presentation, let's again take a moment to say thank you to each and every one of you who are out there putting yourselves at risk to help others. We know that the job that you do is not easy, and I continue to be impressed by the dedication that all of you have to helping your communities and to helping your brother and sister firefighters. It really is an honor for me personally, for Africa Fire Mission, for us to be able to come alongside of you and to learn with you and to share with you, to support you in ways that make you safer and more effective. We are really looking forward to hopefully seeing many of you next month in Kenya at the Fire Academy that AFM will be hosting. And I hope that in between now and then, you'll continue to pop on these Wednesday calls so that we can continue learning from each other. But thank you again so much for taking the time to be here today. Thanks for all of you who gave feedback. We learned so much from each other. And now I will go ahead and turn the meeting back over to Jose or Nancy for any final thoughts.
Okay. Thank you, everyone, for attending today. Thank you, Dave, for the class. We will be sending you, and I'll be putting in the chat, a link, as always, for evaluation. We always want to continue to improve and also get ideas from you about future trainings and opportunities. So thank you very, very much for your participation today. It's nice to see a good group here today. I'm going to pass it back to Jose now for tea time. And again, I'll post the comments in the chat. Thanks, Dave, for facilitating a great discussion today. And thank you, everybody, for attending. We will see you next week.